Bonjour, and welcome back to BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. This is the live stream for, Thursday, December 17th at 6:50 a.m. And I wanted to just get started here. This New Year's Eve, we're having a New Year's Eve party. And I started filming it. I thought we would just have like a half-hour long show of songs and comedy and whatnot. And but now I'm thinking if I can work out this live streaming thing, maybe we'll just do a live stream party with NanaBOOZHOO and Natasha and the rest of the gang. So while people file in, let me get myself situated here. So put this over here. Victoria King, bonjour. Yeah, I'll bring Natasha out in a minute. So you must know the show. We've been doing BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO for about 3 years now, maybe a little over 3 years. And when I first started, it was just NanaBOOZHOO. And NanaBOOZHOO's the only other character on the show was his grandmother, who was always just off camera. And so after a few months, Natasha moved in, and hey, I'll bring her out in a minute. Mena bashki mena sagani batusi chekani bakwejigan. Mena bashki mena sagani batusi chekani bakwejigan is the Ojibwe word of the day, blueberry pie. And I bring that up because it's a question I get asked a lot when people find out that I speak Ojibwe. And especially when I was teaching Ojibwe, people would always ask, well, do you know how to say blueberry pie in Ojibwe? And that's because apparently blueberry pie is like the longest word in Ojibwe. And so to help learn how to say it, I wrote a song about it. And the Ojibwe word for blueberry pie is Mina Bashki Mina Sagani Batusi Jagani Bakwejigan. But I learned it's a lot easier to learn long words if you set it to music. So I was like, well, I wanted a piece of blueberry pie. So I went up and I asked this guy, but he only spoke Ojibwe. So I had to say, Mina bashki mina sagani batusi chikani bakwejikan. Mina bashki mina sagani batusi chikani bakwejikan. Mina bashki mina sagani batusi chikani bakwejikan. Mena bashki mena sagani batusi chikani bakwejigan. But then when Natasha would sing it, it would be like and I wanted a piece of blueberry pie, so I went up and I I realize it's absurd that I use that voice. But the longer I do it, the more fun I have doing it. There's something... Should we bring out Natasha? There's something very liberating. I mean, it's not liberating, but it's almost easier to be soulful when you sing in character than when you're using your own face, you know. Hey, Natasha, you want to come over and say hello to the people? Yeah, sure, why not? I don't mind. Okay, hold on. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Natasha. Let me go sit over here for a second. BOOZHOO! Hello, everybody. I really like your singing. Let's see, how's that look? So, yeah, Natasha Nindijan Nakaz. My name is Natasha. And I do a lot of the background singing. Well, I guess I solo on a couple of songs. But, yeah, just wanted to remind everybody that if you'd like to join us for New Year's Eve, we're going to have a New Year's Eve party. There's going to be songs and maybe some games. And I think the whole gang's going to make an appearance, like Anamosh and Makwa, Dog and Bear, and Wabooz, the rabbit. And who else is here? Benjamin, Steven, the alien. and maybe even a celebrity guest. You never know. Sometimes Paul Stanley makes an appearance. So maybe Paul Stanley will be on the show. And of course, Michael will be singing some songs and that. Well, good morning, Victoria King. Mino Gigajab. Good morning. It's so nice to have another Ikwe, another sister here, another woman. So yeah, just kind of hanging out early morning, having some coffee, having some makare mush kiki wabu. Makare mush kiki wabu is the Ojibwe word for coffee, and it means black medicine water. Black medicine water, coffee. All right. Well, Michael, do you want to talk about how you learned the word for coffee? You mean like talk about my grandpa? Yeah. Would you guys like to hear Michael talk about his grandpa? Yeah, why don't you come up here? I'll come back later. All right, see you later. Now to walk. Hi. So, Makare Mush Kiki Wabu was the first Ojibwe word I ever learned. My grandfather was Aubrey Lyons, and he was an Ojibwe from Bena, Minnesota. He was a Leech Lake Ojibwe. And when I was a little kid, we lived in the basement apartment to my... basically lived in the basement to my grandparents, and my brother and I shared a room, and we had bunk beds, and my grandfather was a fisherman, so he'd always get up really early in the morning, and I could hear him upstairs walking around. So I started getting up really early, and to this day I'm still an early riser because of that. But I remember going up there with him, and in those days, I mean, I don't even know if he gave me breakfast. He might have made me breakfast, but I definitely remember he would get up early, and he'd like fill the bird feeders or just have coffee, and he had a view of the lake from his house, and just sit at the table there and kind of watch the sun come up. And I would go up and he'd have coffee, and so he'd be like, well, here he comes, that 6-year-old. I better get him a cup of coffee. And he would make me coffee just heavy with milk and sugar. And I remember the day, I was just a little guy. We were talking about being Indians or whatever, and we'd always compare our tans in the summer, see who was darker. And he was like, well, you know how you say that in Indian? Because in those days, too, you know, he wouldn't have said, this is how you say it in Ojibwe Moan. I was like, well, this is how you say it in Indian. It's Makade Mush Kiki Wabu. It means black medicine water. Makade, black. Mashkiki is medicine. And Wabu is like hot water, or water that you sip. And so, and you know, he didn't speak much Ojibwe anymore when I knew him. But he would always like pronounce the Ojibwe words correctly. There's a town near my hometown called what everyone calls Onigum, but it's spelled with an O, and my grandpa would always call it Onigum. And when I was a kid, I was like, you mean Onigum? But then when I started studying Ojibwe, I realized, oh no, it is Onigum, because the O's are long, like in the word Ojibwe. So I wrote this song about my grandfather running away from boarding school. It's called Home. And I was born in 1913 in the storm of 1913. Then at boarding school, I was nobody's fool. Down at Flandreau, I grew madder every day. That's why I had to run away. 'Cause this is no way to live. And I wanna go home. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. But on a fateful day, me and my brother Ray, we planned our getaway. If we can make it to them tracks, it won't be coming back. We're gonna hop a train. I thought we got away, but then the cops came and took us back to a leather strap. But I wanna go home. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. I wanna go. I remember it still. I saw a whippoorwill out on my windowsill. How could I sit still? So I got right up and I walked right out. The teacher said to me, "Where do you think you're going?" Boy, said I'm going home. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. Niwakewe, 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 Niwakewe. Niwakewe, I want to go home. So that was a song about my grandfather running away from boarding school. My grandfather was born in 1913. The way he put it, 8 miles east of Bina, as the crow flies. And he passed away in 96. So he's been gone for quite a while now. But I was really lucky. I knew my grandparents really well. I was really close to both of them. My grandmother, Leona Lyons, was also a boarding school survivor, I guess. Although unlike my grandfather, who ran away 4 times before he finally got away in like the 8th grade, my grandmother graduated from Flandreau Indian boarding school in like the 30s. And or maybe the early 40s, I don't know. And graduated with honors and with like tons of great memories. She was an athlete. She went on to college. She became a teacher herself. And so whenever I would sing that song, she would always say the same thing. It was always, I don't care what you say. I loved boarding school. Like, okay. So that was home. And let's see, coming up, I'll be doing a Zoom meeting or a Zoom visit to I guess they call them reserves in Canada, a reservation in Ontario. Somebody contacted me yesterday and was like, would you guys, I always love how they say that, would you guys, like me and NanaBOOZHOO and Natasha, like to, speak to a class via Zoom. And so I've been tinkering with the equipment because I want to make sure I can do something like that. So let me see, is anybody even here right now? Oh, la la la. Does it tell me how many people are watching? Concurrent viewers is only 1. That could be just me, or that might be Victoria. Yeah. So, welcome to BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO. I'll probably be welcoming people every 5 minutes. My name is Michael Lyons. I'm the creator of the show. The podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. And so my gig is to create videos that teach Ojibwe language and then share them on YouTube and Facebook. We also have a Teespring store that sells merchandise, mugs and t-shirts and stuff like that. But the thing I'm most proud of, so proud I didn't even bring any close to the camera, is we have an Amazon store that sells Ojibwe language children's books that I've written and illustrated. It's in the link in the description. But sort of the way this show got started was that 4 or 5 years ago, I was doing comic strips called, or a comic strip called OJIBWE that would teach an Ojibwe word of the day. And then I shared it on Facebook. And for about a year, I would just share Ojibwe comic strips every day or two. And it built up a nice little, I won't say following, but I got, people, I guess, following the Facebook page for Ojibwe. and then I would link it to the books. So I also have like coloring books and stuff for sale. And it became kind of this cool way of advertising my books. And then it really felt like inspiration, like I heard a voice in the wind, or a little bird told me or something, that I should do the same thing only with a puppet on Facebook. And I'm not going to say I'd never done puppets, because once I started doing the show, I started remembering all this experience I had as a kid with stuffed animals and actually doing puppet shows. I have a little brother who's 14 years younger than me. And I was a big fan of Jim Henson's Labyrinth. And I also grew up watching Sesame Street and The Muppet Show. I was right at that age when I was like the first generation to watch Sesame Street. And then when we became junior high kids, they came out with the Muppet Show. And I watched that every Monday. And so when the first Muppet movie came out with like Steve Martin and all these celebrities, I went and saw it in the theater. And so after I started making puppet videos, it was like I had little files logged away of different shows I had seen or things that I could kind of draw upon to make my own show, you know. And so where was I going with this? Oh, and so I ordered the puppet and then just dressed him up in a wig and my bandana and choker and stuff, and started to do an Ojibwe word of the day. And it felt sort of like a 3D comic strip in a way. As a cartoonist, even before I started illustrating books, I always wanted to have a comic strip, sort of like Doonesbury or, hey, bonjour, Cassandra, welcome. And something, I was really drawn to cartoonists who could create a reoccurring character. And like Charles Schulz, even Charlie Brown, the most simple drawing in the world, and with really limited dialogue, but everyone knows Charlie Brown's personality compared to Snoopy's personality or Lucy's personality. And so I was doing comic strips, and I would have reoccurring characters. And then, but it takes forever to develop a character with any depth on a comic strip, where 5 minutes with Natasha and NanaBOOZHOO, I felt like, I could create a whole kind of backstory or narrative about who these guys were, and still have the same, that was still creative, and I always try to line up the shots with sort of an artist eye, like I would if I was drawing it. But then, so in that respect, it feels a little bit like doing a comic strip. But then there's just a lot more performance. And one of the books, if you go on Amazon, that you'll see is a book I wrote, a comic book called Rockstar Cartoonist. Because when I was a kid, my backup plan, if the comic strip thing didn't work out, was to be a rock star. I felt that was my safety job. And but I remember I always wanted to be something that was creative and musical and embody things that rock stars got to, So I was in some bands, but it never quite worked out. That's how I got the blues. There's a red house over yonder where my baby stays. There's a red house over yonder where my baby stays. I've been home to see my baby 99 and 1/2 days. So, yeah. So I played in some bands and, but Rockstar Cartoonist is basically every page or two is 1 year in my life up until about age 45 or 50, or I forget how old I was when I drew that comic book. And it follows different relationships I had with women from kindergarten up, because that's when it all started. And different experiences with bands, whether it was music I was into, like when I discovered Kiss, and then what comic stuff I was doing at the time. So, like as a kid, I wasn't drawing. I mean, I was always drawing, but I would share some old. I really started drawing every day when I was probably 10. I mean, every little kid draws in colors and stuff. But I started to take myself seriously as a drawer, as an artist. At the same time, I discovered Kiss, the rock band. So I just drew Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley and Peter Criss and a million different like superhero poses. And to this day, I can draw platform heels easier than I can regular shoes. So Kiss. Woohoo, yeah! She'll adore you. Let's see. Good morning from Portland, Maine. Good morning. Welcome, BOOZHOO. Mino Giga Jeb, as we would say in Ojibwe. I was in Portland once. No, Portland, Maine, I'm sorry. I was in Portland, Oregon. I've never been to Portland, Maine. But in Portland, Oregon, they actually have a street called Dead Indian Lane. You're like, well, that's kind of racist. Dead Indian Lane. I drove up there and went, I wonder how this street got its name. I hear there's a big storm coming through Maine. Oh, you're from Red Lake. Right on. BOOZHOO. Red Lake is about 25 miles north of here. A lot of the kids who go to school in Bemidji are from Red Lake. We've got the Walmart that Red Lakers come to. I heard a joke once Dave Chappelle said. He was talking about Indians and he goes, yeah, people think Indians are all dead. I'm here to tell you, they ain't dead. I personally was at a gathering of over 1,000 Native Americans. I think it was called Walmart in New Mexico. I thought, yeah, it could also be Walmart in Bemidji. It's here now. Oh, I hope, best of luck to you. I hear it's going to be like historical. But then that's also the news, you know. It's always got to be afraid of something, you know. I remember it started with year 2000, Y2K. You know, nobody pays attention to the news or the weather unless they think it's going to be really bad. So Minnesota is the home of two really popular musicians. The first one, of course, being Prince, who passed away a few years ago. And the state was devastated. You know, Prince, you know, we kind of owned Prince, you know. But the other guy who continues to live, and I personally just don't understand why people pretend that he's a good singer, is Bob Dylan. And like we can all play different Bob Dylan songs because they're all incredibly easy. They're just 3-chord songs, you know. Mama, take this badge from me. I can't shoot it anymore. Shoot a badge? I guess he's a good songwriter, but he grew up on the Iron Range, not far from where I am right now. I think he's from Virginia, Minnesota. And before his name was Bob Dylan, because that's a cool name, his real name is Bob Zimmerman. And my father tells a story of once back in the days he met a kid named Bob Zimmerman who at like 14 years old, he jammed with and taught him how to pick and strum like. And then years later, it was like, Bob Zimmerman. Oh, that's Bob Dylan? Yeah. But every time I hear anything about Bob Dylan, it's always, oh, that guy was so drunk. Or I haven't heard any like good reviews from his live shows. And he hasn't written a thing in decades. I'm sure he's still alive because they would have told us that he had died. Mama, take this badge from me. I can't use it anymore. Getting dark, too dark to see. It feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. So depressing. And that song's way more true now than ever. He's got to be pushing 80. And for years, people were talking about, oh, the Rolling Stones are still rolling, you know. And I used to defend when everybody wanted to say, oh, they look terrible. I'd be like, no, man. I mean, they're old. Keith Richards looks great. Mick Jagger is in fantastic shape. I don't know why you guys say they look terrible. I saw a recent picture, and it was like, wow. They make zombies look youthful. It was shocking what the Rolling Stones look like now. Like beyond making fun of them. And not just old, but like old and sucked dry. Keith Richards just, like he looks like he should be in a wheelchair with oxygen and stuff. He looks like he's dying soon. So let's see. I also wrote a song about Leech Lake. In Ojibwe, Leech Lake is Gazagaskwa Jamaycog, the lake of the red cedars. So I wrote a song about Leech Lake, how to say it in Ojibwe. Gazagaskwa Jamaycog, Gazagaskwa Jamaycog. It's fun when you sing it. Now Natasha's gonna bring it. Gazagaskwa Jamaycog, Gazagaskwa Jamaycog, Gazagaskwa Jamaycog, Gazagaskwa Jamaycog. Oh, Agaskwajamakog, the lake of the Red Cedars, or the Red Cedar Lake. God, is that right? No, Zagaskwa is Leech Lake. It is Leech Lake. Red Cedar Lake is Gamaskwa-Wakogog. Gamaskwa-Wakogog is Cass Lake, or the Lake of the Red Cedars, and Leech Lake is Gazagaskwa-Jamakog. Anyway, how's it going? Oh, wow, did you know you can look right into other people's houses? I didn't know that. Huh, I had no idea. Sure is messy. Why don't you clean your room? Nah. All right, Gigawaba Man, I'll see ya. Thank you, Natasha. Yeah, no problem. I'll bring out NANABOOZHOO before this is all over. So, yeah. I did some research on the history of Cass Lake. I was just looking up who is Cass and who is it named after. And it turns out it was after a governor in Michigan, somebody whose last name is Cass. And again, very suspicious and not much information on the history of these towns. He was a Freemason, of course. You know, he had one of those creepy portraits with his hand, the hidden hand in the pocket. And how not only did they convince, because Cass Lake, you know, this is still Leech Lake Reservation. And, you know, when it was all Ojibwe speaking, they named it after the, you know, for hundreds of years, the place was called the Lake of the Red Cedars. And apparently there's a lot of places where the lake is called Red Cedar Lake or something like that, because we have red cedar trees here. And then it's, for some reason in history, across the line, this comes to my questions about assimilation and what happened in our history. They not only changed the name when they made the maps and stuff for English speakers, but they somehow convinced the native people, the Ojibwe people who live in here, to also change the name and forget about what it was really called. There is something that I don't quite believe about the official story about how we lost our language and culture. Everyone kind of blames it on the boarding school era. If you're watching this in Canada, I know you guys call it the residential school era. But the narrative in American Indian history is that once we were warriors and, you know, spoke Ojibwe language and named everything and had, you know, all the lakes were named and the areas, you know, we had villages, you know, towns and stuff. But then all that got washed away in history because of the boarding schools and forbidding the language. So a generation came, like my grandparents' generation, who grew up not speaking their language, but learning all the English terms for everything. And they really put a lot of emphasis on this idea that they were assimilated, like, to think of themselves as white people and blah, blah, blah. But I don't understand why there was no pushback. Why didn't they just continue calling Red Cedar Lake, even after everyone spoke English? Why was it named? So the town's named that, but even the lake, you know, where people rice and, you know, all the history and what was so sacred about the lake and stuff. Named it after some governor from Wisconsin. He wasn't even from Minnesota. Because he was part of some secret society that built everything. I don't know. It's discouraging because the more I do this, the more I learn about Ojibwe language, or just Ojibwe history, and just how stupid and limited the history is, you know. There's just a very small section of the library of books written by non-Indian people about the history. You know, it's all very suspect. It all started with Columbus. So, make sure you tune in at 11:30 on New Year's Eve. We're going to have a New Year's Eve party. And we're going to start out 2021 in the right way. Are you guys depressed? Has it been a tough year? It seems like if you think the world is reflected in Facebook, that people are just don't have anything good to say about the year 2020. You know, oh, the lockdown, COVID, and blah, blah, blah. And just got out of prison in July. See, there's such a thing as real prison. I have to ask you something about a seminar. Okay, please. People have been acting like we've been living in a prison, or that we've all been under house arrest. And they're acting like there's a pandemic that's killing off the country and that there's a lot to be afraid of. It seems like a lot of people feel that way because that's what's represented on Facebook. But if I'm being, yeah, I imagine you're happy. Welcome back. You can connect me by email at mlyons1984@yahoo. Or you can contact me. We're on YouTube here. So my email address is all lowercase mlyons1984@yahoo.com. You know what? I could probably type that in right there. See how modern I can be. Whoops. .com. There we go. Let's see if that works. And but 2020 has been really great for me. I have, this has been the first time in my life where I haven't had a real job. 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was teaching guitar part-time. I had been otherwise unemployed for, was it a full year at that point? Don't even remember. That's the weird thing about getting older, too. It's like, was that 1 year ago or 2 years ago? Or 10 minutes ago? BOOZHOO from Moorhead. Hey, I used to live in Moorhead. BOOZHOO. Went to school at Moorhead State, and I worked at Concordia. Or as we called it, Canafordia. And, yeah, I love Moorhead. Or I used to. That place has really become a city. I went out visiting there last spring. And was shocked at how much that town had grown in the last 10, 20 years. Of course. Everything about being older is a cliche, and it's correct, you know. But 2020 for me has been so much fun because I like staying at home and not being able to go into a job. You know, it's given me the freedom to make these videos and then also to pursue opportunities. Yeah, it was a full year. I wasn't really I was unemployed, but I was doing a lot of school visits with puppets in 2019 and part of 2020. But when the COVID hit, all the schools closed up and conferences I was attending at different casinos and whatever was put on hold. And so I was, you know, staying at home every day. And the days kind of blended together. And then not having a job, also my sleep pattern got real weird. Like even today. Lately I've been going to bed at 9, 10 o'clock and then waking up at 2 for the day. Because I like to record when it's still dark out. And it doesn't even matter because I don't have to be at a job. So I sort of love the... So 2020 has not been a time I'm going to go, oh, to heck with this year, you know. And for the record, don't let your kids flip off a camera with their middle fingers. I've been seeing a lot of that where mom takes a picture of her kids going, their fingers up in the air, either against 2020 or against the pipeline or against whatever. I'm like, that's a really offensive gesture for a very offensive word. And it's so shocking to me that, you know, I mean, at a time when people are so touchy about language, that they're really pretty casual about the middle finger. I don't know why I'm going off on that. Moorhead. Love Moorhead. That's where I learned how to play guitar. Let's see, what's a good guitar song? Oh, here's a pretty song. I just learned this one. So I was a really sensitive little kid. I remember hearing this song and actually tearing up when I was a little guy because Mr. Bojangles, his dog died. I remember understanding what that meant even as a little kid, how sad that is. Of course I understood it. Man Bojangles and he danced for you in worn out shoes, silver hair, ragged shirt and baggy pants. He did the old soft shoe and he jumped so high and lightly touched down. I met him as Nacelle, I was in New Orleans. I was down and out. He looked at me to be the eyes of ages. He spoke right out. He talked about life, talked about his life. Then I heard someone ask him, please, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, dance. There's a line in there. He danced for those at minstrel shows and county fairs across the South. He said with tears of 15 years how his dog and he... Well, I may as well sing it. He danced for those in minstrel shows and county fairs across the South. He said with tears of 15 years how his dog and he would travel around. But his dog up and died, he up and died. 20 years later he still grieved. 20 years later he grieved for his dog. I grieve because my guitar won't stay in tune. Have you ever lost a pet? I never had a pet as an adult until I inherited my grandmother's cat after she passed away. And for about 7 or 8 years, I had a cat named Princess, a white cat. And I was, like in my 50s by the time, say, I was 49. I mean, I was a grown man by this time. And I had experienced death of people I loved. And, I wasn't a kid anymore. But the death of my cat was so profoundly sad. I was shocked. I was not ready for the impact of losing my cat head. Made me religious. I started praying again. They don't talk much about seeing your pets in heaven, but I have to believe that we do, because like, how can it be heaven if your pets aren't there? They say all dogs go to heaven. What about like Hitler's dog? Will he go to heaven? What about those mean dogs from the 60s during the civil rights protests? The German shepherds. It's always German dogs who were like fighting on the cop side. Will they go to heaven? Any other evil dogs? Is there a dog that guards hell? The hellhound or something? We're all connected. That is true. Matakio Asen. We're all related. Or in Dinawe Maganadug. We were all related. Or that's what they say. I don't know. I used to live in Boulder, Colorado. And everybody was into like Buddhism and New Age, this and that. And even before then, I used to be a real New Ager. And the Buddhist philosophy is always, we are one, you know. Everything is consciousness, and we are all one individual consciousness. And it's a nice thought, I guess. But now that I'm becoming a cranky old man, I'm like, are we though? In some ways it feels like we're all divided completely. I know, right? We had a pet cemetery behind the house. Good memories. Yeah, losing a pet. I did a show on it where NanaBOOZHOO talked about it. And losing a pet is a different kind of grief. I mean, I guess grief is grief, but you know, when your grandmother dies, you know, you can see it coming for a long time. You know, by the time elders are on death's door, life is such a hassle for them that there's a little part of you that's sort of relieved, that's kind of glad their suffering's over. And then it's also such a difficult, messy thing to, you know, the funeral and all that stuff. It's a different kind of grief. When a pet dies, it's clean cut. You know, there's no. See, I'm getting choked up. Stood there in the back of the church of a broken people. Listen to the walking wounded tell their stories. My turn came and I told them my name. I said, this ain't my first time. Then a man started talking about the devil and the bottle was ruining my life. Last night on my breath, I stood up and said, it ain't the whiskey, it ain't the cigarettes, it ain't the stuff I smoke. It's all these things I can't forget. It ain't the hard time, it ain't the all night, it ain't that easy. It ain't the whiskey that's killing me. That's killing me. I'm still not over it. Why am I talking about Princess? All you need is love. That's true. All you need is Zagat Idiwin. Love. There we go. How about this one? Anybody old enough to appreciate Poison? We both lie silently still in the dead of the night. Though we both lie close together, we'll feel miles apart inside. Was it something I said or something I did? Did my words not come out right? Well, I tried not to hurt you. Well, I tried, but I guess that's why they said pet deaths are way harder than when you lose a human being. Losing your pet breaks your heart in 1,000 pieces. Anyway, yeah, so I didn't, I had a hard time with my cat's death. I remember saying to myself, man, there's no way I'm doing this again. I'll never have another pet, forget it. And about a year went by, and it occurred to me, like a voice from the other side, that you don't honor. I can't believe I'm talking about this. You don't honor the dead pet by never moving on. So I got another cat. Okay, I'm going to quit talking about death. It's choking me up. I think it must be a low blood sugar or something. I need a cookie. Okay, here's something funny. I was talking about John Denver the other day. And when I was a kid, John Denver was just like the most wholesome guy in music. Everybody liked John Denver. He didn't have any edge. He wasn't controversial. And when I was a little guy, like a first grader, my first grade teacher played guitar. She was a hippie lady. And she would bring it in to school once in a while and sing songs. And this was another sign that would get me kind of emotional as a little kid. It was Leaving on a Jet Plane. And like when I was a kid, we didn't listen to kids' songs. I mean, when you're a kindergartner, maybe you sang Ring Around the Rosie or something. But it's not like people sought out songs written for children. I always thought that was kind of a dumb idea, because I was listening to Elvis Presley and the Beatles and the Bee Gees and Jim Croce, adult music, whatever was on the radio, whatever my parents listened to. And like, kids will like real music. They don't need to be catered to, It's like, oh, here's a funny song about whatever. I hate jokey songs like that. So it starts out. All my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. And I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye. So it's very sweet, It's early morning, the dawn's breaking. He's got to leave. And he knocks on the door because he hates to wake her up to say goodbye. And what's sweet about this is you kind of already know the backstory, is that he spent the night at this woman's house. But she slept in the bedroom and he slept out in the living room because he doesn't want to wake her up. They didn't sleep together. You know, this is the 70s. But the dawn is aching, it's early morn. The taxi's waiting, he's blowing his horn. Taxi's outside. Already I'm so lonesome I could die. He hasn't even said goodbye yet, and he's so lonesome he could die. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. Right? His goodbye hug. Hold like she'll never let him go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh, how I hate to go. I don't think I've ever been on a plane where I haven't been singing that song to myself at some point on the way to the plane. There's so many times I've let you down. So many times I've played around. Hold on now. So many times he's let her down. So many times he's played around. Played around. So he's disappointed her because he's slept with other women. I'll tell you now, they don't mean a thing. Very nice. They don't mean a thing to him. He just used them. Don't you feel better? Every place I go, I think of you. You just have to take his word for it. Every song I sing for you. When I come back, I'll bring your wedding ring. There he's making a promise. And something tells me he's not going to come through with it. But he says when he comes back, he'll bring her wedding ring. Either he's going to come back and marry her, or maybe she's already married and he stole that ring. And now he's feeling bad. And so when he comes back. So, no, I think he's going to marry her. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. He doesn't know when he'll be back again. Oh, how I hate to go, or to see you cry. Something like that. Well, he's making these promises except for an actual definitive date when he'll be coming back. Now the time has come to leave you. So he's been saying all this that morning. One more time, let me kiss you. Get consent, boys. Then hold me now. As I go, kiss you. And close your eyes, and I'll be on my way. Then close your eyes, because apparently that kiss was an open eye kiss. Which I guess I would understand from the woman's point of view. More makare mush kiki wabu. Hey, I've even got my Christmas mug. How you doing, Jim? 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh, how I hate to go. Brandy Marie! I was wondering when you would show up. Or should I say Kathy? So yeah, I was gonna sign off, but since you just got here, I'll hang around for a while. We were just talking about John Denver and what a phony he was. So wholesome was his image, but the guy slept around. And in fact, I knew a woman who used to be good friends with her, with his girlfriend or his wife or something. I used to live in Boulder, and John Denver had a home there or something. And apparently when he got divorced from one of his wives, he started up a chainsaw in the house and started sawing things in half, and he had a violent temper. And he also said that he loved being famous. You know, I mean, there's something, I'm sure it must be rewarding to be so successful that people recognize you. But to enjoy the accolades or whatever that a famous person gets is pretty shallow. You know, oh yeah, I love getting tons of chicks that would have been otherwise out of my league. You missed it, Brandy. I was getting all teary-eyed talking about my dead cat. I mean, I've recovered and it taught me so much. And my new cat, Bagheera, is totally different in every way. But, except that I love him in a different way that I loved my princess. I think it's because he's a male cat. But I wrote a song for him when I got him. See if I can do it. Beat fast colors and promises, how to be brave. How can I love when I'm afraid to fall, but watching you stand alone, all of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow. How's that go? How? One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I'll love you for 1,000 more. Time stands still. Beauty in all she is. I will be brave. I will not let anything take away what's standing in front of me. Every hour, every step has come to this. One step closer. And on and on. I have died every day. A lot of death talk. I wrote a song for a girl once. These were the lyrics. I don't think she ever got to hear it. I'm never coming back here again. This is it now, this is the end. Tomorrow I'll say we can still be friends, but I'm never coming back here again. I was so stupid. When I was in my early 20s, I was involved with a woman for 3 years, and she moved away, and we'd never really broken up. And I felt like I had to go see her in person to break up. So, you know, booked a train to Indiana, and I went to Dumper. But then on the way there, it occurred to me, it's like, wait a second, I'm planning to be there for 3 days. You can't just go there and break up with them on the first night, because that's going to make for a pretty awkward weekend. So I didn't break up with her the first night, and then we ended up hooking up again, you know. And she was acting like we were, and I was too, just boyfriend, girlfriend that weekend. And so I thought, well, I'm going to have to break up with her in the morning during the drive to the train station. Because that was the other thing. I didn't know, I had no money. I didn't know if she would get upset and kick me out of her apartment, and I would just be lost in this strange city. No way of getting to the train station. This could have, if this went down wrong, I could have ended up still being homeless in Indiana. I'm looking for my guitar pick. Oh, here it is. So I was going to wait till the last second to break up with her. I got to the train station, I jumped on the train, and it turned around, and I realized I just wasted the opportunity. I never went. And saw her, or I didn't break up with her. So I sat down and I said, well, I don't know what's going to happen here. One thing I know is I'm never coming back here again. And so I wrote all the lyrics, and I got home and I wrote a song. It was like the breakup song that I never sang to her. I'm never coming back here again. And I think I put some harmonica on it. So, Brandy, if you're not doing anything on New Year's Eve, we're having a party. And we're either going to live stream it, or I've already recorded some songs for it, but, you know, actually I should be able to live stream some pre-recorded video. I'll figure out how to do that. But join us New Year's Eve at 11:30 for the BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO New Year's Eve extravaganza. I'm never coming back here again. This is it now, this is the end. Tomorrow I'll say we can still be friends, but I'm never coming back here again. I was caught for 3 long years, lost in the thoughts of a young man's fears. I cannot swim in a sea of tears. I found you out and then I disappeared. How's that for poetry? I cannot swim in a sea of tears. I found you out and I disappeared. Now I'm never coming back here again. I'm usually in bed by 9. Yeah, me too, actually. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to stay awake that late. So let's do it. Why is it that, you know, when you're young, man, New Year's Eve, party's just getting started at midnight. And now I'm like, I think it's because it gets so dark this time of year in northern Minnesota. You know, by 6 o'clock, the sun's gone, and you're like, well, here we go. How do I stay awake? Brandy, I've been meaning to learn the song, Brandy, you're a fine girl. But I haven't yet. I'll learn that and dedicate it to you. Of NanaBOOZHOO. All right. So John Denver, in the end, died in a plane crash. And it was a plane that he was flying. And so I'm not sure what the connection is between, you know, I'm leaving on a jet plane and I'm crashing in a private plane. So, many Ojibwe songs I can think of. You know what? I'm going to have to sign off soon because Niwi Saga Nanaboozhoo, would you like to teach an Ojibwe word of the day? How about we do the Ojibwe phrase of the day? We can do Niwi Saga Hey, that's a great idea and very apropos. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce a friend of mine. It's not on his mic stand, but should be. Oh, I'm ruining the illusion. Okay, hey, BOOZHOO! Today's Ojibwe phrase of the day. Niwi sa ga'am. I have to go to the bathroom? Oh, is that why you need to leave? Do you have to go to the bathroom? Why don't you go and I'll just stay and do this until you get back. Oh, that's right. You can't do that, can you? Oh, next live? You know what? I think I'll do this tomorrow morning. Same time, same channel. Come back tomorrow at like 7 o'clock. We'll do another live stream. Okay, Michael? And so, yeah. Giga wabamin. Minoa. Hoa. So having said that, I want to say miigwech for tuning in to BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO. And say again, Niwi sa ga'am. Niwi, I, in the future, Niwi, sa, to go. Niwi sa ga'am is the bathroom. Ga'am. Niwi sa ga'am. Thank you, Brandy Marie. I hope you have an amazing day too. And I'll tune back in tomorrow morning and maybe we'll do some, early morning radio show stuff. All right, miigwech, gigawabamin, minawa, hawa.